Hi, hello, and well met, friends, and welcome to my channel. My name is Nimue. I'm a professional psychic intuitive, spirit medium, and astrologer. And today I wanted to take some time in this video to discuss the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that is taking place between 2025 and into 2026. This is a particularly challenging aspect, and it's one of many between 2025 and 2026 that has the potential to create like systemic amounts of change. And historically, Saturn-Neptune eras have been like tremendously hard on the psyche for reasons we will get into, even though they tend to lead towards massive amounts of positive and progressive change. So this particular Saturn-Neptune conjunction, just to get this out of the way, like packs even more of a punch than some of the other historical references we'll be talking about here, because it's in the beginning degrees of Aries, the sign of aggression and conflict and war. So there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of boom, go, pow energy to this conjunction, a lot of urgency, a lot of things happening very, very quickly that the nervous system might have a hard time acclimating to. So I wanted to talk about why this is happening, how the archetypes of these planets are playing out in our current reality and how they played out in past realities, and how we can kind of mitigate the effects of these energies so we don't just get sucked into the abyss. Because again, historically, these transits, while difficult, do tend to lead towards growth when it comes to the human psyche and the human collective. So why are these eras so challenging? Why are Saturn-Neptune eras associated with the collective darkening of the psyche, a dark night of the soul? It's primarily because these two planets could not be more different from one another. Saturn is the planet of hard knocks and discipline, the planet of limitation. Saturn speaks to the benefits of maturity and wisdom. Saturn doesn't hesitate to show us our shortcomings, show us where we need to grow in order to be successful, especially in a long-term sense. It shows us the consequences of not taking certain things seriously, to the point where this planet in some circles is called the Lord of Karma, the Lord of cause and effect, in a very grounded, kind of realistic way. Meanwhile, Neptune is the planet of disillusion and idealism, and the planet of the ephemeral, and the planet of dreams, the planet of boundarylessness, the planet that wants us to all become one. Neptune wants the all to see the all. It seeks to dissolve the boundaries that Saturn puts in place. So immediately you have this kind of conflicting energy when these two walk into the room together. Neptune doesn't want to be bound by time, and Saturn is the time lord. There's like this, just don't get along. It governs mystical experiences. It rules over the boundless imagination and longs to transcend out of everything physical, where Saturn is pointing out the importance of the physical world and how you have to play by the rules here in order to achieve certain things. And to put it mildly, it's like inviting two family members who are diametrically opposed in their political views to dinner and forcing them to sit at the table for longer than 5 minutes. Forcing them to have an entire week together in the same house with no escape, with no way out. So in 2025, like I said, they're going to be snuggled up in the beginning degrees of Aries. They are going to retrograde back into late stage Pisces. So talk about fucking vibe change. Like it's just, like I said, there's going to be quite a lot of pendulum swinging emotionally because of this transit. Not to mention, and this is a video for another time, Uranus is in Gemini, in the beginning degrees of Gemini. It's just moved into there, and that has the potential to create even more of a powder keg situation with these two planets being in Aries. But that is a video for another time. So when we're looking at Saturn-Neptune eras, we're looking at themes surrounding realism and idealism. Neptune says, wouldn't it be lovely if we could all live in an abundant world where everybody had their needs met and everybody was free? And then Saturn comes in and says, that's cute. How exactly are you expecting to do that when society is what it is? Like Saturn, especially, we can see this right now, is showing us our pitfalls. So how can you have this happy, frappy, lovely world when all of this is here? What are you going to do about it? So this is where the theme of like hopefulness and hopelessness kind of start to surface a little bit. Like, how can we build a better future when fascism and the billionaire class are conditioning all of us to hate each other through propaganda? How can we all live in abundance if there is an ongoing and active class war where scarcity is being manufactured at rates we haven't seen in the modern era, if maybe ever? So, because of this tension, this can create, because it's so intense, a deep crisis of faith. And also a loss in institutions. It's not just like the whole God is deadness of it all, which was also, according to Richard Tarnas in Cosmos and Psyche, God is dead. That was penned during a Saturn Neptune aspect. There is a pushback against institutions that have become very visibly corrupted. These can be religious institutions, political institutions. There's often a direct conflict between secularism and religious entities. Um, and these eras can feel, because of that, because there's this sort of devastation around us not being able to trust the institutions we used to trust, that can lead to reality feeling like God is dead, like the dream is dead. Everything we hope for is in vain because all of this exists, right? And as if that weren't hard enough, these eras are often marked by massive water events, such as flooding, or water becoming poisoned or toxic. Hurricane Katrina happened during a Saturn Neptune era. The tsunami in Sumatra that took out 250,000 people, if not more, happened during a Saturn Neptune era. So you have environmental factors that are also creating a lot of angst and fear, and sometimes biblical ways. So let's look at our current reality. Speaking as an American, I cannot speak for any other viewers that are watching from other countries. So this is coming from a very American centric perspective. I think it's pretty safe to say at this point that we are in this country undergoing a major crisis or crises, plural, of faith, culturally and across the board. We have an election that people have admitted openly on hot mics 4 times now. Probably there might be more, but I know of 4 openly admitted to rigging, or messing with. So there's this lack of faith that the person that is currently in power was put there fairly. And also the lack of faith and the lack of trust that shows up when nobody does anything about it. Accountability for misdeeds seems to be at an all-time low. And I think that also spans across the political spectrum as well. We have an administration that is openly bigoted, openly anti-Christ-like. I'm saying anti, not the Antichrist, but anti-Christ-like, like the least compassionate administration we've maybe ever seen. And yes, I was alive during Reagan. They're bigoted and actively targeting and harming large swaths of the population. Again, with a startling lack of opposition from anybody, really. It feels like that. Anybody in power, because we're going to get to the people momentarily. But the institutions that we placed our faith into seem to be openly corrupt and causing dramatic amounts of harm. Without any prompting, and nothing seems to be being done about it. And that is creating a loss of faith that the people in power actually care about us, that there is a democracy to speak of. Project 2025, which is also a perversion of Christ's teachings, is being implemented through our political system to try to turn the United States into a technocratic theocracy, which I don't really care what side of the political aisle you're on. I don't think anybody wants that. I really don't. The majority, the 350 million of us, I think a very, very small percentage would be okay with that actually occurring and happening. So on top of this, we have been seeing massive floods. There was the floods in Texas that have taken dozens of lives. I've also been seeing on social media, like I think it was Vegas, New Mexico, that there's just a lot of water that's coming down right now. And it's dramatic and it's daunting. And it's creating a lot of grief and a lot of anxiety. And again, a darkening of the collective psyche. Now, all that being said, there is a flip side to the energy of this transit, a flip side to the loss of faith, and a flip side of feeling like everything that you trusted is no longer relevant or was never real to begin with. Because of everything we just talked about, historically, the counterbalance shows up energetically as a dramatic surge of compassion for the suffering of others. Dr. King's speech was written and spoken during the same transit that Kennedy was assassinated in. The Emancipation Proclamation was penned during a Saturn Neptune transit. Katrina, as god awful as that was, really ripped the lid off of the racial disparity and income disparity in New Orleans and really brought a lot of us closer. I'm just speaking as a white person, to our internalized racism and just how this country functions, and how much of a mess that was and how unfair that was. So I think that some of these dramatic experiences eventually inevitably create compassionate awakenings in thousands, if not millions of people. In our current era, we've seen this show up so far as the No Kings protest, which I think to this day is the biggest protest in American history. I think it was like 13 million people or something took to the streets, which is absolutely insane numbers, especially for a country that tends to get kind of judged for not organizing and not speaking up, which I have feelings about because this country has always been a fight. But that's again, another video for another time. That protest was speaking out specifically against a regime, against kings, against fascism, against the kidnapping and trafficking of innocent people. People are coming together also. And this is a little messy and this is a little controversial because I think this is just starting to happen. But they're coming together, I think, and awakening under the idea that the current political system, again, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, doesn't give about you. Don't care about you. They're not there for you. They're there for their billionaire donors. And they'll say whatever they can say to get you to vote for them, to get you riled up, or to get you hating the other side, or to get you to think that the other side is the cause of all your problems. And this is for both sides, just so we're very clear. Okay. I think people are realizing more and more that they have been lied to. And that's causing people to snap out of the fog, Neptune energy, right? Another Saturn Neptune theme that shows up historically is the hidden coming to light, which we are very currently seeing with the E-files. That's also been a huge sort of jolt to a lot of people, I think, that voted the way that they did, because that person ran and campaigned on the idea that this man was the worst, because he was, and seemed to be a champion of wanting to take care of people who are like basically save the children, right? And now people are seeing what the administration is doing, and they're going, "What? What?" So certainly not all hope is lost. We're still at the beginning stages of all of this. And given other historical parallels, we may see even more massive progressive movements in the next couple of years. And by progressive, I'm just talking about human rights. I'm talking about people being able to pay their fucking bills and have access to healthcare and a roof over their head, gas in their car, and schools for their kids, which shouldn't be progressive. Like that's just kind of basic human rights, but we might be seeing, because there's been such a dramatic surge of this sort of like shadowy, bigoted energy, this shadowy fascist energy, we're going to see a lot of pushback. There inevitably will be pushback. So I think in the US, currently, if you want to look at the energy of this transit in like a positive way, or in a way that you can start to utilize it, I think that we are being taught about not taking certain liberties for granted, like really becoming grateful for what we have, and seeing what could be taken away in a very immediate and dramatic kind of way. I think it's going to remind us that not only are some things worth fighting for, but some things must be fought for. And on that note, just a little sidebar, both the Second Amendment and the NRA were formed during a Saturn and Neptune and Aries position, respectively. Just putting that out there for no reason. So now, how do we continue to get through the next year without just swirling in the abyss? This is honestly kind of the Saturn energy that I'm going to be offering more than the Neptune. They do go together, but a lot of what I'm about to say is very boring, but very useful. And I think healthy amounts of pragmatism that are frosted with idealism are the way to go. That is the positive side of Saturn and Neptune, is being idealistic, retaining your hope for the future, and your relationship with spirit and your relationship with others, but doing it in a way that makes sense, doing it in a way that isn't just it's not just an idea, it's action. It's using that Aries energy to put things into motion. So number one, get outside. Get outside. I currently have a friend who is building a platform around hiking once a day for mental health. And just, he talks all the time about how just getting outside, just it's like, yes, let's go to therapy, but this is also the best therapy you can get because you're moving your body, you're connecting with nature, you're putting your fucking screen down, you're coming into the moment. Touch grass, like literally, and be near water if you can. That Neptune element is going to, I think, connect us very deeply to the frequency of water. If you're lucky enough to live near the ocean or near a lake, go be on that little coastline or that shoreline. Number two, no one wants to hear this. Meditate. Meditate. Get into the present moment. I'm a big fan of Vipassana meditations, mindfulness meditations. There is a fabulous app, and this is not. I'm not being paid for this. I just love this app. The Insight Timer has countless guided meditations for free. You can pay for their subscription and you get access to like classes and lectures. It's wonderful. I've been using this app to meditate for 10 years now. Tested and true. Mindfulness is going to be crucial as we're moving through this era, especially with Uranus being in Gemini. Again, another video, but that's such a wild card of an aspect. Number three, limit your screen use. To come back to Uranus and Gemini a little bit, that's part of the reason it's going to become harder and harder and harder to tell what is real. It's really important, even now, when you are watching, whether it's media or social media, to ask yourself in a mindful, discerning manner, who is benefiting from me giving attention to this? And if it's something that gets you emotional, who benefits from those emotions? If you're afraid, who benefits from the fear? If you're angry, who benefits from the anger? Okay, think about that. And again, that's kind of the hard reality of Saturn being like, pay attention to like what you're paying attention to. Number four, somatic work, exercise, but learning the signals of your body so you can kind of start to tell frequency wise. Frequency is going to become more and more and more important the deeper Pluto moves into Aquarius. What feels like a yes in the body? What feels like a no? And knowing your human design will be very, very helpful for this. Number five, and this might be a little challenging given where we are right now, look forward to the growth that is inevitable from this aspect. This journey into the shadow, this underworld. This is the stage in Joseph Campbell's hero's myth of the underworld. But what happens afterwards? You come out like the fucking phoenix, right? Like you come out refreshed, renewed, better. This is where heroes are born. This energy is how movements are made. And with it, everything being in Aries, with Saturn, Neptune being in Aries, those movements are going to pack a punch and they're going to happen fast. There's a sense of urgency to everything that's going on right now. It's going to light a fire under our ass. So last thing to note, Pluto is going to be sextiling this transit the entire time, pretty much. This is more of an intuitive take on my end, but I think this is actually going to help us rather than harm us. I think it's going to give us a sense of more agency. I think it's going to empower people to be present with the reality that's going on. Like instead of just ignoring everything that's happening or la, 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 I think it's going to give people the power to sit with it and radically accept it. This transit also really forces us inwards, asks us about what we believe is true. Like it's going to help us check into our own heart and ask, like, who's my heart beating for? Whose feelings are these? Okay. A lot of inner work to be done with Saturn and Neptune, as well as the outer work. It's also going to help energetically, like Pluto is the regenerator. It takes all the detritus and it recycles it into something better and new. So, I say all this just so you guys know that as dark and daunting as things are getting in the world, this is cyclical. This is historically what happens when these planets come together. And in that sense, yeah, we need to brace ourselves because, there were elements of the Holocaust that also happened during Saturn Neptune eras. There have been multiple conflicts that have really seen the ugliest sides of themselves during these. Korean War was during a Saturn Neptune era. And a lot of change and arguably, okay, progressive change has happened as a result. It's not all doom and gloom forever. It never lasts forever. And it's important to keep the faith, and it's important to not let Saturn overshadow Neptune and to not let Neptune overshadow Saturn. I think for as much as they must disagree at the dinner table, imagine the power of those two actually finding something to agree upon and reach across the aisle and shake hands on. I think that's possible too, and inevitable, if I'm being honest. So thank you so much for taking the time to hang with me today. I really hope this transit brings you more opportunities for growth and discernment and wisdom, more than you ever imagined possible. And if you haven't, give me a follow, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you next time when we get into Uranus in Gemini. Take care.